everybody. It's Crystal David, your host for the Keep the Spark Alive Summit, and I'm here today with Alina Marie. I'm so excited to be, in this realm with her because I got to work with her on creating my vision of Wife Complex, and that's what she does. She just helps creatives bring their thoughts and their ideas to life. And if you can relate to someone like me where you have all this stuff in your head, but you don't really know how to bring it out, she's your girl. And so I'm excited to just kind of get behind the scenes of your brain and your life and just how you manage all your roles. So tell us a little bit more about who you are, what roles do you wear as a woman, and what is your light in the world as a woman?
Okay, I am currently, and for a long time, I've always been those, like you, a creative that has all these different facets, and I never quite knew exactly what they were going to be or what they were going to look like or how they fit together. But I'm a writer, I'm a creative strategist. I have a huge background in photography, graphic design, branding, marketing, content writing. And currently, I'm using all those things together as a creative director of a new church out here in the DC area. So I've been really focused on that. I've taken all the work that I've done with my clients. Now I'm kind of really able to hone in and focus on that and help build that vision here. And then creatively for myself, I'm a writer, and I really love to be able to capture some of the things that, I think, because I know I'm not the only one that thinks them. And so I just really been exploring that season of just getting everything out and being transparent and just kind of, like you said, going behind the scenes of some of the brands and the things that even I do, just to kind of put something out there that's a little bit more authentic and honest. Because I think a lot of the stuff that we're all seeing is very, stylized and it's staged, and I just kind of want to put something out there that's a little bit more honest. Because sometimes I think when we read something and it's like, oh my God, I feel like that too, and I never knew how to say it, or I couldn't put words on it, and I just felt like there's so much power in words. So for me, words are everything. So that's why, writing and then also working with people on their messaging for their visions that they get from God are so important. And that's my realm, the, wording and messaging and just capturing thoughts and feelings and really putting, articulating them in one way or another, whether it's personally or creatively for other brands as well in their visions.
Cool. And then you're married and you have a daughter. So
Yes, I'm married almost 8 years. And we have a 4-year-old little girl named Luna, and she's turning 5 next month. So that's like the harder birthday, because it's just like, you're not like my baby at all anymore. So yeah, that's our little girl.
So I want to just kind of jump right ahead because you hit on something that I think is so important. And one of my underlining goals of this summit is to, like you said, like bring some more authenticity to the world of like, I don't want to separate us like me, regular people looking out to all these experts and influencers, but that's kind of one of the things I wanted to do, like take these people who have lots of followers or they're amazing, successful in their businesses, they're authors or whatever your thing is, and show that we're all real people behind the scenes. Seeing that you are in that space and you see the behind the scenes of so many creatives, how would you speak into or give advice or inspire women to not get lost in the social sauce, as I call it, like not get caught up comparing and not get caught up like just feeling less than. One of the I'm just going to say this and then you could speak to it, but one of the biggest things that you taught me was like, as we were working together, was not to feel like I had to do it all to keep up. Like I always felt 100 steps behind because so many people doing so many things. And so I love how you have this way of just being like, be at peace with where you're at, be you. So speak to that, that whole aura of I feel like it's a whole nother part of our life now because the social realm is like so huge. So how do you stay afloat in that?
I love that you said the social sauce, because I mean, it feels like you get lost in it. And I was just speaking with a friend of mine the other day, and it was just like, we're the first generation of mothers and creatives that are doing both those things, raising our children, raising up businesses, vision babies, whatever you want to call them. And we still have to be a wife, and we still, have to be a mother, and also just something for ourselves. And those are roles that each of those things, gosh, they take so much, and they're blessings. And it's just one of those times where when you throw in the social sauce to all that, I mean, it just threw everything off, and not in a bad way. It just added almost this curveball that there's no blueprint for.
Right.
And it's strange because, yeah, there's things that are timeless. Like there's elements of motherhood that are timeless, but there's certain things that when you start to add in social media and the amount of tech that we have grown up on. I mean, I'm 33, so I still was able to have enough of my life without social media to understand what it feels like to go through a day and nobody cares what you wore, nobody cares what you ate, you know, and that was normal. And you had to learn to be okay with what you did that day for yourself. And so I know that I've personally tried to kind of anchor that back into my life where it's like I check in and out of social media. I take the apps off my phone if I'm not on it because I don't want it to be something that's constantly running in the background to where every single thing I'm doing, I'm trying to see it through the lens of how somebody else would see it.
Yeah.
That's no way to live. Where it's like, I see this beautiful movement of Luna doing something. It's like, oh, I have to do that because it's going to get so many likes. And I fear for some of the women of our generation because I watch them and it's like, I just don't ever want them to be, 60 looking back. And it's like, oh my God, I literally staged my entire life. I filtered my entire life to create this persona online, and everything in the background was my real life got filtered out. It was like it was edited out. And I just think that I've seen from both angles as a creative director and also as somebody who had my own brand, it's a lot of staging. I mean, it takes a lot for something to look a certain way. And I think a lot of women think that what they're seeing online is 100% real, and it's just not. A lot of these women are getting paid for their posts to look like that. This is their business. I think a lot of it would have to do with, we almost have to change our lens of how we absorb what other women are posting. Understand who's the influencer and who probably got paid for that post, and also understand who the people are where they're just sharing a moment. It's a little bit more real and more candid, because there are certain brands where that woman, she's a paid influencer. This is what she does for her living. You're looking at her business. Right. So it's unfair for you to take that on and be like, my daughter doesn't look like that when we go out, and I don't have a photographer following us around. And I mean, my husband is not the one that's like, let me pick up this camera and catch these kids. He does not. And if I'm like, babe, can you stop and grab, and I'm not going to mess up his life experience, you stopping our good life experiences to try to make them fit into squares, on Instagram so that other people can like them. And I think it was just a long process of continually asking why. Why is this important? Why do I feel like I would need these likes? Why am I even seeking the validation of the likes? And when you peel back and you keep going and going and you start to see that it's really not important, or that you need to work on something in yourself that's yearning for these likes and yearning for these followings as like a validation, you can really start to step back and be like, you know what? I don't care. And I think when you get to that point, God can really work with you, because then you can see somebody and be like, man, that's good for her, but that's not my lane. That's good. I love that she's doing that, but I don't feel like I need to do that. Because there's other people, like when I was really focused on branding and content marketing, I mean, podcasts and workshops and courses. And it's just like, not everybody is supposed to do everything. Yeah. Find your why. Let God show you the things that are just effortless to you. I always say, if you're in a place where it feels like there is just so many options, take a break and see what you miss getting back to. And that's probably the thing that God wants you to work on the most. And when you know your lane, you're not as easily influenced. So you can see all the stylized pictures in the world. You can see that, she's throwing retreats and workshops and classes, and it's not going to intimidate you or put that internal pressure in you like you're not doing enough. Yeah. I think when you're in your lane, you can't suddenly get popped out and be like, oh my God, I'm just not enough. Because it's like, no, that's good for her. And I know where I'm at. I know my space. I know my season. And I think there's a power in that. And there's a permission to live in that, where it's just like, okay, well, I don't know what she was doing 5 years ago. Maybe this is the fruit of 3 years ago. Right. And I'm in my season of, I'll see something in 3 or 4 years. And I think it's that. I think there's a lot of pressure. It's like, you have to be everything by 30. Yeah. Oh, it's not realistic.
So much, like so many nuggets. And I have to tell you, I mean, you're one of, I can't even think of another person off the top of my head right now, but you're one of the few people who have inspired me to, and who, it's not just like you talk about having that removal of social media. Like you have this aura about you. Like I remember emailing you feeling like I didn't want to cross your boundary, like of, you know, probably in,
I'm sorry.
but no, but in such a good way, like in such a good way, like like having email hours. And just so you know, like I thought about you the other day because my husband went to Sundance Festival and he was being mentored by Barbara, the Shark Tank Barbara. And
Oh,
one of the biggest things she said was stop. Like she literally was like, don't like stop your kids from being in their moment so you can capture the picture. And I'm like,
yeah.
guilty of that. Guilty, guilty, guilty.
Yes.
That was one of the things that she was saying was like, don't check your email all day, every day. Like have hours. And I was like, yeah, you know, Alina who did my marketing stuff, like she does that. And so it was really cool to see like this Shark Tank guru businesswoman like doing the things that you're teaching, because those are the things that you kind of have to do to be successful.
Yeah.
And not just successful, but happy inside and content.
Oh, yeah.
Thriving. So I just love that you delete the apps and that you set boundaries for your social time, because I can't tell you what that did for me. Like after I learned that from you, I took the app. It used to be on my little home thing, and I
Yeah.
put the back of my phone in a folder. So even
Right.
that like broke the habit of it being just right there. You know, like I
Yeah,
had
because it can become mindless, like habit.
this. Yeah. So I just appreciate you, and I love that you share that. I think that, you know, this topic in itself could be the whole 30-minute talk, because it's such an
Yeah.
epidemic almost in our, you know, in our time. So I love that you are in that world of helping the social come to life, but then
Yeah.
you keep that sense of balance in there. So it's just such a blessing. I'm so glad God is like using you for that, because it's so, so needed. So I want to shift gears just a little bit and talk about just like your motherhood and being a wife, and like how are you balancing those things? How are you know, I love hearing if people believe. I've had some speakers say I do believe in balance and this is how I get it, and I've had many say there's no such thing as balance, it's just shifting priorities. So how do you maintain and your life with all these different roles? What are kind of some of your tools and tips for that?
I actually feel like there's a personal version of balance for everybody. And I think it has to do a lot with learning your rhythms. For some people, they want to be booked out so busy and flying off everywhere and doing those kind of things. So their balance will look different than somebody like me, who's a little bit more like, I'm more introverted and quieter. And I want to be home with my daughter, especially while she's young. And I think that for me, I've always tried to keep the reality that there's three priorities and everything else is going to be under that in some form or another. And my top priorities have to maintain and be what they are. And it's hard because sometimes you just get so excited about something and you want to take it on and agree to it. But the best thing that has saved me and helped me kind of maintain my own version of balance is saying no, you know, and not even being apologetic about it, not rude, you know, but no, that's just not a priority to me right now. Or I can't take that on because if I say yes to this, I'm saying no to my top three. And for me, you know, my top three is being obedient to the things that God has me doing creatively and really making sure that I honor exactly what he needs me to work on for the impact he has envisioned for my life, whatever that looks like. My husband, obviously, and my daughter. And so anything else outside of that, you know, it kind of has to fit into one of those things. And so if I know that there's a certain project, like recently, I actually had to stop taking on one-to-one clients because I know that God wanted me to help the church and work on the church. I couldn't have been doing all those things. And I mean, that was hard. I had finally really gotten my business to where I wanted it to be. And, you know how that is stability wise. It was like, this is great. It's something I can begin to count on. And then all of a sudden it was like, yeah, put that on the back burner. And it was like, you know, but I think it's the being available to let God show you when the grace is leaving the seasons, so that your top three or four, depending on who you are and the amount that you can carry, it maintains and it's covered. It's exactly what you need to be working on, because I think a lot of us get so caught up in focusing on the things that don't particularly matter,
Right.
you know, completely. So for me, I am super unapologetic about my boundaries. I mean, friends of mine joke, I don't play. You know, if I say no, sometimes it's no because I'm going to keep that day completely open. I don't say it's because I'm busy. I'm keeping that day open because I want to have the ability to be spontaneous with my family, wake up and be lazy, or I don't have to give you a reason why. You know, and it's not out of being inconsiderate. I don't owe anybody my time. If God wants me to give somebody and sow my time and sow my energy, that's great. I only really truly owe my time to my husband and my family and my daughter. And those are the people that they only get one of me. I love doing branding and I love doing what I do creatively, even now with the church. But at the end of the day, somebody else can step into that role.
Mhm.
Nobody else can be Luna's mother. Nobody else can be Kevin's wife. So that keeps me grounded of, I can't just keep ignoring him to get my website up.
Right.
That's my husband. I prayed for that man. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm homeschooling Luna. I can't just be like, well, I have meetings all day. Go read a book. Like, no, God allowed me to be in my situation so that I could be available to homes. I have to honor those things. And to honor them, I had to create the boundaries and just find a place where I didn't feel like I had to explain myself all the time or feel guilty about blocking out times where it's like, no, that's just for us. I don't have to give that time to anybody. Um, and you feel bad at first just because you're not like a rude person, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. And I think a lot of us, it's like, oh my God, I don't want to say I can't. Well, do you want to say you can't to somebody else or your children? And 20 years from now, it's like my mother never paid me any attention. So I think that helps me keep my boundaries of what are my priorities and why do those matter to me?
Right.
What are my whys behind those priorities and keeping things in perspective?
Yeah. I love it. I love it. So going towards your relationship, what do you guys do for fun? What do you guys do for date night? How are you guys keeping going on 8 years alive and beyond?
And beyond. Kevin and I, when we first met, we worked together. So it was one of those, we weren't quite sure what we were, it was our conversations. And I need mental stimulation from somebody. Yes, I was attracted to him, but there's a lot of good looking guys. I need to be able to wander into that galaxy of like, have you ever thought about, or what do you think about this? And they have a good head on their shoulders. And for me, when we spend time in having like real conversation about, our days, the things that God's doing in our life, the things that we're learning personally and together and noticing, it's like, for me, that's like foreplay. I need that mental and intellectual stimulation from him. And so we don't make it corny where it's like, now's our time to talk, but it's just, we always set time together just to be around each other. And whether it's watching a show together, or just sitting and we don't actually have TV in the house. So if we do watch a show together, it's like we stream it. And I think sometimes just not having a TV running, and he's not even on social media. So it's like there's not a lot of tech in our household really pulling us and distracting us from each other. So after a certain time, I mean, I have the email hours. After 7, I don't even look at my phone. That's his time. You know what I mean? And once she goes to bed, that's kind of like our date time.
Yeah.
We have family that lives in the area, but we don't really have a lot of people that can, take her. So we don't have a lot of actual like date nights. But for us right now in this season, I mean, as long as we have that time and we're being really intentional about still finding why we love each other, and appreciating like, oh, I love all these layers of you, and really just growing together and having things that we do together. That's it for us. It's not that I never want to be that married couple that's together and almost living like separate lives under the same roof.
Yeah.
And I see that, where it's like you just become partners, and partners are great, but I still want that fire. So I have to find reasons and be intentional about, I know that something that works for me, and I don't know if it's even going to come out right, but I always look at Kevin how another woman would look at him, what she would notice, what she would appreciate, because it keeps me from getting jaded
Yeah.
to what I love about him. And sometimes it's that little, like, I look at him from across the room like he's not mine, and it reinvigorates my passion for him. And then it's like it's new again.
Yeah.
And I think especially when you start getting past, 3, 4, 5 years, I mean, things like that, they matter because you can start to take all the good layers about somebody for granted.
Oh yeah.
And somebody else won't, and I think as long as you keep that perspective of like, that is what I love about him, or I love the way he looks when he's speaking or he's thinking, and those little, nuances that you fell in love with in the first place, just keep them at the surface.
Yeah.
Keep that fire going.
That is amazing advice. It's funny, I saw this little meme circling around yesterday, and it was way more ratchet than how you just said it, but it basically,
I was trying to find a way.
But it basically was like it said something like love your your dude how them other girls in your head love him. And I, that really hit home for me. And then it's interesting, like, this is God, like, for sure, because that's where I'm at in my relationship. Like, I had this like aha moment over the last year of realizing how much not that I take my husband for granted, but how much I wasn't appreciating all that he was, and how much I was focusing on all that he wasn't. You're not doing
Right.
You don't do that. And so I had to like step back and take this moment where I'm like, he does so much good. Like,
Right.
oh my gosh, like, and I'm not even giving him credit for that. And so
Right.
that was, to be honest, that was where my motivation came from. Secondly was, shoot, I'll be damned if some other girl steps in and tries to be the one that is like,
Right.
you know, being appreciative of him, because I
Yeah.
love him to death, you know. So
And it's not like, oh, you know, girls are lurking and I feel intimidated. It's more, I want to keep that perspective of what I felt like when I first met him and was getting to know him. So it's almost like I'm going back to the older version of me that's not as settled in the fact that, you know, and settled in a good way. Like, I know he's not, I don't have to worry about if he goes to the gym. Is he really going to the gym? Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not in that. It's just more, I always want to keep where I'm looking at him with refreshed eyes.
yeah.
And my grandma said one time something that was so good. She was like, love a man like a wife. Or she was like, nurture like a wife, but love him like a mistress, and he'll never need one. You know, and she was like, keep some of the private stuff of how you kind of get yourself to look beautiful to yourself, so that you even keep that mystery. And she's like, it's not about not being comfortable with your spouse. It's just keeping it for him as well.
Right.
You know, and there's just certain things that I just, you know, I just always want to be somebody to him too. And I think about those things where it's like, I don't want to look crazy when you come home. Like, if I like looking at you when you come in the door, I want you to enjoy looking at me. You know, I'm home all day with her. I don't want to be, you know, crazy looking. So, I mean, just a little bit of, you know, not, you know, contouring, but it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm very conscious of making sure that I give him back the same.
Yeah, I think
I want to look at you with good eyes, and I want you to look at me and be like, oh, that is my wife. You know, like, that's good.
I think it's funny what was coming to my head was, you know, you hear both sides of that. So I've heard, like, I'm going to use like the pooping example, but like I've heard people be like, you should be so comfortable with your spouse that you can just take a shit in front of them or whatever. But what I think is funny is, like, I've always
preference for everybody.
yeah, but I've had that in the back of my head because my husband is very, like, one time he came, like, we have this thing, and this is so personal, but whatever. We have this thing where it's like, do not go number 2 in the master bedroom, because we just want to keep that out of our space, right? And so I, like, sometimes it's like, I don't feel like going to other bathrooms, and I'm like, we've been married, I can go in my own room, so I'll go, and he will still get mad to this day. Like, I don't want to come in and see my wife like pooping on the toilet, like, I don't. And so I think it's funny because I always battle with, well, how much do you really love me if you can't? But it's like, no, I pull back. I'm like, no, I actually like that he likes to keep me at that state of like, she's a cute little trophy that doesn't poop and doesn't do this, you know, like,
you don't use tampons, you know, you don't get your, you know, and I think it's because there's people that are just like, they take it to the extreme where it's like, you know, feminism in a way where it's like, you shouldn't have to hide that you have your period. He knows I get my period, but do I need to be throwing the tampons out in front of him? No.
Right.
It's just certain things that you don't need to, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even think I'd want to see that in the reverse if that was a thing. Do you know what I mean? Where it's just, it's not necessary in a way. And it's not about comfort. We were away overseas and I got really sick. I got dengue. It's very similar to malaria. He saw me throwing up. I threw up most of you know what I mean? So it's not like it's hidden where I feel like if I ever went beyond a boundary, he'd fall out of love with me. It's not that deep. It's just more, to me, it's a consideration, if nothing else. And it's just certain things I think are just for you. Like he doesn't need to see me getting my eyebrows threaded.
Right.
It's not like he'd be turned off. It's just, it's unnecessary, you know? And it's just, for me, I just personally feel like, yeah, if I really had to throw up or go to the bathroom or something in front of him, that's what it is. That's my husband. He's seen me at my worst. But at the same time, does he need to see that every day? Probably not.
Yeah.
You know, probably not. It's one of those things. So I get it. I totally agree with you. But I know there's an extreme on the other side too, that it's like, do you and be free? And I'm like, yeah, well.
And hey, to
preference.
each each his own. So let's talk a little bit about just you. How do you take away, like, from all your roles, your business, your family, and how do you just pour into yourself and keep a sense of self maintained?
I think for me, and I'll be super transparent. I know that I literally have anxiety, like an actual like anxiety. I have a panic disorder. So sometimes it's one of those things like if there's too many things on my plate, I get irritated just because it starts to kind of trigger that. And it's something, I've learned how to work around it. I'm able to understand how to almost not work with it like I accept it, but almost just learn what kind of starts to make it worse, or certain things that I'm feeling, why they're coming up. And for me, I notice that if I don't get time by myself, and I start to feel like I haven't been able to fill up and just be, that I'll get irritable and I'll start kind of, everything becomes bigger. Like if you even ask me like, let's do lunch tomorrow, but I feel like I haven't gotten time to myself. It's like, no, don't ask me to do one more thing, and it's just, I had to realize that about myself and see first, see why that was happening. And it was like, cause I'm not full. I can't pour out if I'm drained. So for me, it's a lot of, and Kevin understands too, and I'm able to just say, hey, babe, I'm going to go walk around Target for an hour. There's nothing I need to be doing. I don't need to be available to anybody. And I think that there's those times where he knows that I need those spaces of not being available, whether it's just let me binge watch Game of Thrones for 2 hours, or just, I'm going to go out and do something by myself or go walk around a bookstore for no reason. I think for me, having times where I'm not doing anything with a measurable, productivity thing, because I'm so type A, where it's like, I don't need to spend an hour doing that because what happened? Did I accomplish anything? No. And I think that for me, I'm so like that all the time that for me to maintain my own balance, I've had to be like, I need time where it's for no reason. I write for no reason, or I walk around for no reason. I'm not even running errands. I just need to exist and not be anything to anybody for just a small chunk of time. I know for some people it's 20 minutes, some people it's a week, but for me, give me an hour of just kind of, I don't have to answer any questions. I don't have to get anything. I don't have to be anything for anybody. And I think that for me is my version of it. I know everybody has their version, but that's pretty much mine, is just let me be for a little bit.
No, I love it. I think it's cool that everyone will get like all these different things that they can just. I think the biggest thing I want people to take away is the permission to do something for yourself. Like,
Yes.
you look different, find it, but we all need it. Like, we gotta have it. And so I think that's so important.
And definitely communicating with the people around you, the whys.
Yeah.
Like I think for years I didn't want to tell people that I had an anxiety kind of thing, because it was like, well, everybody has anxiety. There's 1,000 things to be stressed about. And it was like, I didn't want to look like there was something wrong or something fragile. But when people understand, when I get that hour, I'm able to kind of subdue some of the physical feelings that anxiety can create, and that my husband kind of knows. And we have, I just need my hour. I don't have to deal with, well, why? Okay, fine. There's a respect, because there's been an understanding and a communication that for me to function and for you to experience me the way that you like experiencing me as a wife, and for me to be able to experience Luna the way I would like to experience her, where I'm not being resentful or irritable or short with her, I need this. And that very early, even in motherhood and even as a wife before Luna was born, we've always had conversations, and I've had no problem saying, babe, what do you need to feel your best? And for him, it's playing video games and not having her right up under him or me right up under him. And I think it's that communication and saying it where you don't guilt the other person for what their version looks like. It's not like video games, babe. Really? No, video games. Go ahead, do you. Like, you work all day. If you want to shoot people or play Madden on video games, do you? Or the gym, or, and it's just that respect back and forth, and the understanding where it's like, I don't have to explain myself why I need that hour. I just need it today. Okay, love you. See you.
I love it. So one more question as we just kind of start to wrap it up. I love so much of what you share. How do you define sexy? What does that look like? What does that feel like to you?
I think for me, it has a lot to do with the inner confidence of myself first. I noticed that when I feel like maybe I never wanted to let myself go, not just because of Kevin. I never wanted to let myself go because I never wanted to feel like something didn't matter. Like I want to wake up, and even when if I'm walking around the house, I still, even like my lounge clothes at home, I never wear like stuff where I would even feel kind of dingy or like, it's just yeah, big t-shirts are super comfortable. But even when I lived alone by myself and didn't have anybody around, I didn't like feeling like I had let myself go or I just looked crazy. It was for myself. Like, I don't want to pass a mirror and be like, oh, you need to go do something with your life. So for me, it's really been about finding my own version of maintaining it, where okay, maybe it is just putting your hair up and not doing it every single day, but just pulling it back or keeping it down, and just, do I feel pretty today? Do I feel like I look my best for myself? Because sometimes, even if I'm just working on the computer all day or doing something with Luna, how you look really does matter and how you feel. And so I always want to keep that ability to feel like, if I go and I cuddle up on Kevin on the couch, I feel like I look like something pretty walking to cuddle up on him. It's not like, who is this woman that I don't, I am married. And it's not because I'm trying to appeal to Kevin's eye. It's internal,
Yeah, it's how you
and
your energy.
yeah, I want to feel like I look pretty, and it's really, and it's not selfish in the way that most people assume being selfish is. It's just, for me, everything is associative. And so if I feel pretty and I feel like I still look good and I feel good, then I'm a little bit more confident in initiating things, and it's just, I feel like, to me, I know that I feel sometimes the sexiest when I initiate things, because I know that men are very used to, they always have to initiate things, especially sexually, or not even for sex, just intimacy, like cuddling and holding and things like that. And so sometimes I love to feel so empowered and so like full of my own sexiness that I almost pounce on him,
Right.
and I think that for him to be pounced on, it allow, there's a sexiness within that, but a lot of it's mental. I feel like a lot of it is mental for me. And again, I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier, where for me, most of my stimulation comes from intellectual things or mental things. So it's, if I feel and I think of myself as feeling like this woman who, embodies fire, then I'm more able to just feel, in permission. Like you said, it's that permission to just act on it. If I feel kind of dingy and I feel like I look like I gave up, that doesn't make me want to feel, like I'm about to be in a music video and enjoy my husband, and it's just, I try to keep that, and again, for every woman, it's totally different, but, I always want to keep that fire inside of me, and remember, like, you prayed for this man. There were days you craved this man, continue to crave him, in all ways, to take care of him, to love him, for most men, I mean, physical and sexual things are a lot of their love language. We forget that. And I think that it can go by the wayside where it's like, oh, I'm tired. I'm not gonna lie. It's hard when you have a child and there's all these things, and it's not, you can't be as spontaneous. So the fire has to come in a different way. And a lot of it has to be where it's like, okay, maybe we can't do it exactly all the time when we want it. But when we do it, there's a desire.
Right.
I'm not doing it just because I'm doing my duty as a wife. I want this, and I think that a lot of that also had to come within my mind of, you know, how like you listen to music and it almost hypes you up. I hype myself up for oh, I can't wait till Kevin gets home. That's the man, and it's a lot of that. I'm very, very intentional about remembering why I am so passionate about him. He gives me 1,000 reasons every day. I'm blessed to have a man that, I mean, is my perfect match for me. So it's not hard to keep that, but I am super intentional about what is it that I love about this man so much. And then it's just like, I couldn't possibly keep my hands off you by the end of the day, because I've been building myself up all day. And I do that as much as I can. I mean, there's not sex every day. I'm not even going to act like there is, but it's one of those things where that's just, for us, it's one of our ways of just remembering that it is us. When you're a husband and you're a wife, cool. But when you're a mom and you're a dad and you guys are doing these things for movements and projects and things of God, you always still have to come back to that core of like, we're husband and wife. And that's for me, that intimacy can come from that or good conversation. But for us, it's just really, really being intentional about it.
I love that. And one of the things I'm loving about this interview and as a whole is we have focused on the physical appearance a lot, and not a lot like excessively, but just like I think that, I mean, I agree. So that's why I want to highlight it, because what came to my mind as you were talking in one part of this was, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but you can almost like tell when someone's been in a marriage or a long-term relationship, and then you're like, are they still together? Because the girl starts showing up like with like new makeup, new hair, new lashes, new everything popping. And so what I was thinking as you were talking was two things. I was thinking of that concept of just how when women go back on the market from this relationship, they all come with it. And
they look amazing.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking, I feel like as women and wives or people in relationships, I feel like we should always have what you're saying, that sense of like, it's not that we're doing it for the other person.
Right.
I always wonder what makes that woman do that. Usually it's because like they're trying to get back on the market, they're trying to get back picked up. But then a lot of it is not that. A lot of it is just like, I'm free, like I'm me again, like let me do me, let me be cute, let me feel cute. And so I think there's a lot to be said that I think we do allow ourselves to lose ourselves and stop dressing up, stop doing this and stop doing that. And then we start to speak like that's normal. Like, no, I feel my best. I don't have to get dressed and I don't have to do this. But really, how much is that is true? Because if you didn't have that man, would you be like, I don't care how I look, or would you step it up a little? So I think it's a good challenge for all of us to think about how are we viewing that physical aspect, because it is important. And I'll never forget some advice I got from a girl that used to do my hair, and I was young, but I guess she was just pouring into me really young. But she was like, when you get older and you're married, you should always leave your house where your husband is like, where are you going? And so I love that, because there's so many times where my husband will say that and he'll be like, what are you doing? What did you do today? Why? Because especially now that I'm doing these interviews, every day he comes home, I'm not just like normal, I'm like made up, got the laugh, I'm like looking extra cute. And he's like, wait, what did you do today? And I love it because it reminds me like it caught his attention. And so anyway, I just wanted to really point that out, because I think that physical is so important. That's a huge part of my branding, as you know, like that's where the fox comes from, and like staying sexy, because I think all women should stay sexy, whatever that looks like to you, but you should always be in tune with that for yourself. And so I love that you touched on that. And so I think that it's just, you know, something that everyone should take away from hearing from you today. So thank you for that. And so as we wrap it up, I know we covered so much and you've given so much insight. So is there anything left in your heart? Do you have any closing remarks or anything that you feel like inclined to say as we're kind of wrapping it up?
No, I mean, I think overall the entire heart behind anything I do is that I really want women to kind of, like we said earlier, give themselves permission to be their version and explore their versions too. And I think that, like we were speaking earlier about, there's so many other versions that we're seeing. Like our mothers didn't see this many other versions of how to be a woman, or ways to be a mother, or ways to be a wife and things like that. Nor were they in a place where there was a platform that could capture it. Right. So, you know, a lot of this stuff was done in the house behind the scenes, and you didn't have as many influential thoughts running through your mind where it's like, oh my God, I need to put on lingerie because I just saw that woman and she posted on Instagram her like Kevin doesn't give a crap about lingerie. He's like, I just want it off. You know, so it's just like, I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? And it's like, if I beat myself up over the fact that I don't have this amazing lingerie collection, it's pointless from my marriage. But it's one of those things where I think that all of us are seeing so many versions of possibility that, if nothing else, it's really truly about taking time to be honest with yourself and find your whys. Why do I feel sexy when I do that? Or what does make me feel sexy when it doesn't even matter if I'm walking out the house? And I think when you start to ask yourself, who am I when nobody's looking? Who am I when I'm alone? Who am I when there's really no reason to even share why I'm doing something, or I'm not looking for validation? Because half the things that I notice people do now, the actual motivation is to get the reaction that doing it will create. I'm going to live my life like this and take pictures like this, or have this marriage so that I look like I have it all together. When you get rid of all that crap and you just sit with yourself, and it's like, as Ashley, or, you know, Alina, because I have a nickname too. So, you know, as me, how do I feel sexy? How do I feel like I'm living my life that when I'm older, I'm not going to be like, man, whose life was I living? Because that wasn't even me. Right. And I just want women to feel like You can own your version. Maybe your best friend is the complete opposite, and that shouldn't make you feel inferior. You know, even things like kids' birthday parties. Just because you don't throw the Pinterest party doesn't mean that you didn't love your, you know, if you throw something more modest. And I think that there's things like that, you know, where it's like, let her do her and let you do you, and also have the understanding between you guys that it's okay if she does that. That doesn't mean she's extra, you know, and it's okay if you do less. That doesn't mean you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
You just have things, you know, and I think that that goes across the board for your business, for your husband, for your life, for your look, your style, everything, how you decorate your home, all of it. And I think that if you just let people do them, appreciate what it looks like for them, and then you have yours and you say, okay, I'm solid in mine. I love that everybody else has theirs and I celebrate them, do you, and I'm just going to do me and I'm not going to be apologetic about it. There's so much power in that, because you really start to align with who God's created you to be. And I really think that this life is truly about God has a rhythm inside of you for all of your preferences, all of your inspirations. And I feel like life is about going back and allowing him to unravel them and show them to you, so that you almost have this relationship of like, everything that you've done for me has had a reason. Everything. And everything I see, even my preferences, have intentional purpose.
Yeah.
And so when you start to see that, it just is so freeing. It's so freeing, and I just want that for everybody. It's one of those things where it's like you can't make it happen, but I want that for people. And I think that's why a lot of things I write, it's about prompting and challenging these thoughts where it's like, why do I do that? Why do I even think that I have to do that? And I think that those questions, when you ask yourself, you start to see new pieces and new layers where it's like, oh, okay. Well, I don't feel pressured to do that anymore, because I know deep on the inside what I'm about, and I'm totally peaceful with that. I don't feel like I need to do anything more than that. You know, you personally evolve, but you don't have to keep up with, you know, everybody around you.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, amazing advice, and you've just given so much. I'm so excited for everyone to hear this interview.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for just taking the time. I always am even more grateful when I'm dealing with someone like yourself who has such strict boundaries on their time, and I think it's such a valuable thing. That you would say yes to something like this, and I appreciate it more so because I know the power of this summit is just to reach so many people, so many women in need of just to one, stop that comparison of looking out at everybody else who has it going on, and realizing so do you, and you can too if you don't feel like you do, and then how to do that. How does it look for people who are doing it? So thank you for saying yes to this project, because it means so much to me for us to be able to put this out into the world, because I just feel like we live in a time where women need it. And
for sure.
I appreciate your time, and I just value all of your insights that you give.
Thank you. I love the vision. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, you know, you're my girl personally. And then on top of that, I truly love the vision creatively. So I was honored that you even thought, you know, to ask. And so thank you. Trust me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So I know you have an amazing gift to give everyone watching. And I just want to personally say, I told you guys this in the beginning, but that's how I got connected with Alina. Was I was this crazy mess of ideas, and I just like had all these things I wanted to do, and I had no idea how to put it into words and into fruition. And so it was like godsend when I came across Alina, because there's so many branding people out there who can do similar work, but I just was so in line with what she does, because she's got the gift from God as well. And so that was very important for me to know that what she's going to put on paper with me or on the internet was going to be in alignment with what God has in store for me. And that's very important to me. But aside from that, it was the best thing that has happened to me in my business. It was just, she helped me get clarity. She helped me just feel so confident in my ideas and validated my ideas, and gave me feedback in areas where I could tighten things up, and just constructive, like just everything. I mean, it was amazing. And so the gift that she has for you guys is literally, do not take this for granted. Like even if you don't have a million ideas, even if you have a business right now, even if you don't have anything that you feel like, I feel like her gift is something that can help you just find some personal clarity of just like, why am I here? Because regardless of what you do in life, you're here for a reason, and sometimes we don't really know what that is. And so this tool that she's going to give you guys, and I'm going to let her share a little bit, but it's just I had to say my piece, because I can't tell you guys enough how much it's a free gift that she's giving you, but it's not free at all. She's put so much heart and soul into it, and you're going to get so much value out of it. So I had to like put some extra on it, because I feel like whenever we don't take things for granted. Like, we actually like to pay for things, and so you should be paying for this. And so like I'm just saying that
normally people do, so it is a gift.
I invested because it was the best investment I ever made. And so I'm telling you, from somebody who has gone through it, to just please don't pass this opportunity to have this amazing gift in your hands. She's going to tell you what it is and how to get it, but please just do it now. And I'm saying that because I know how we do. We're going to log off of this video, and then we're going to let life happen, and then we're going to be like, I'm going to do that, and we're never going to do it. So literally stop what you're doing when you're done here, go to the link, get the gift, and then you can dive into it when you have some time, and maybe treat that as some of your self-care moments. But please tell us what you're giving us.
I need you walking around with me as my personal salesperson. I'm like, go, tell them. I'm just going to cut that and put that on my website and be like, all right, goodbye. No, it's like you said, it's something that it's a compilation of about 10 years of me doing my own businesses, and finding out later the things I didn't know that I didn't know, and making them a sequential blueprint, so that people can say, from the time that an idea hits their mind, it gives them this blueprint and this outline to say, think about this first. And this is why I'm having you think about it, because it's setting you up for what I'm going to ask you next. And there's a reason. And like you said, it is a lot of personal clarity, because the whole first part is like, why do you even, get inspired by these things or think these things? And like you said, it's not just about branding. It's Idea Branding 101 is truly about making a thought in your mind come out and make it so that it can be translatable and received by other people. Because a lot of times it's like, that's an amazing thought. It's so stuck in our own head that like when we try to explain it to people, they're like, we sound like this mad scientist where it's like, it's amazing, so it's really about articulating in a way that can be received by other people, because a lot of it isn't just about a business. It's maybe you're part of protest or movements or activism, or how you want to have your motherhood. Like if say you're homeschooling, and it's like, what do you want your movement within your own home to look like, and things like that. And a lot of it is just about articulating your version of why and the things that God has put in you. And so it really does step through, but it's also very heavy on the backside of, if this is a business, these are the things you need to be thinking about so that you're not burnt out. I see so many people with amazing vision burnt out. And so it's really about the systems. It's about the clarity of articulating who you are, so that when you step back, you have something running, it reflects really who you are, and it's maintainable. Because I think a lot of people, they listen and they watch these courses and all this stuff, and it's like, oh my God, I have to do that. But it's not maintainable for your lifestyle. Like, you have 4 kids. Some things that people say, that's just not reality, So it's like, who are you? What are you able to maintain? And let's put some systems in place for that. And then on top of that, let's really make a plan for how to get this idea functional and into the world. So it's 108 pages of a workbook that literally you can print off 1,000 times, because like you and me, we have 1,000 ideas. You can reuse it over and over again. Or if you're just somebody who wants to step through and maybe even discover that you had an idea you didn't realize you had, it's for that too. Like, sometimes it's just fun to work through. It's like, I never asked myself that. I don't even know what my answer to that is. So that I have kept on my site, even though I'm not doing one-on-one work with people. It's what I gave my clients, so that when I did get with them on the phone, their vision became mine. And it was really thought out, and it was really laid out in a way that it made sense. And it wasn't just a bunch of concepts, because you can't launch concept. You can't do anything with just concept. So it's really like, if you're serious, let's get it out, let's work through it. And it's hard and it challenges you, but that's where the growth happens. So that's something I wanted to give, because I think a lot of finding who you are and giving yourself permission to be you, a lot of that comes from a personal creative and purpose fulfillment. Who am I? Not everybody's meant to have businesses and things like that, but you can have a movement or a passion or a message. And it doesn't always have to be in the structure of a brand or, you know, a nonprofit or whatever it is. And I just feel like when women go through this, it allows them to have that ability to align with who they are, so that you will have on paper what your lane is. There's power in that, where it's like, no, I have this little book right now that actually all of me is now in, you know, and it's on paper and it's in its little place. And so when I see certain things now, I have the recognition where it's like, that's awesome for her, but I know exactly what I need to focus on. I know exactly what my one thing is and the little things that are going to spiral out from it and things like that. So Idea Branding 101 is truly that. It's really something for you, you know, no matter if you're a mother, a wife, not either yet, or never want to be, or anything like that. Just as a woman, the things that God has placed in you to pull out and put into the world, whatever level of influence or impact that is, this will help bring it out. And I think that sometimes even going through the process, it's a form of self-care, like you said, and taking an hour to go through certain things or go back to it maybe every year to see your personal evolutions and do it again. It's really fun. It's really fun. And I think that it's a version of finding time to give yourself permission to be you and do you and what that actually looks like.
Awesome. So where do we find it? And then where can we connect with you also?
Okay, so the free gift will be on alinamarie.co/gift. And I'm sure you'll put like a link and all that kind of stuff. So it's /gift, and then you'll just download it from there. It's a PDF. It's a digital PDF, so you'll get it instantly and can start working on it. It's made to be printable if people like to actually, you know, I like to write on paper, so it's definitely made for that. And if you wanted to continue to connect, I'm mostly on my website, honestly. I try to keep a lot of my work on my website so that I kind of social media. I don't want everything to be on that platform because all their algorithms, I don't have time for that. Like if you love my stuff, I want you to be able to just bookmark it and it's like an outlet, you know, that I really just want it to be an outlet to people. So my website has my writing on it. It has a place called The Rabbit Hole where it's books that I love and articles that I've read that I like, that I think, you know, it's like my girlfriend, like I just, if I love this and I want to share it with my best friend, I kind of want to just put it on there too. I have a list of over 100 plus resources. If you're starting a business or you're starting a movement and you want to know the logistics of actually getting it started, there's a list, you know, and I mean, it's all the resources where it's like, I want to do this, but I actually don't know the tool that lets me do it. It's that. So there's so much on there, and it's just going to continue to become a resource. And if you are on social media, the only social media I am on is Instagram, and the handle for that is @alinamarie.co. So I am on there as well. Those are my two spots.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being in with us today. Just stay connected. You will get a wealth of knowledge from Alina. So thank you again, and
Thank you.
see you guys later.